Junkies here, reviewing a big movie. This is probably one of the biggest movies to be released in the most recent lockdown. In terms of the fuss and the nonsense, it's more than likely going to be the Best Foreign Picture winner at this year's Academy Awards. A lot of debate about whether it should be nominated for Best Picture. A lot of people thinking that perhaps because Parasite, this is a South Korean film, but because Parasite cleared the board last time or did so well last time, could this be the next Parasite? Not in terms of subject matter at all.
No, at all.
So it's called Minari, and Minari is translated as a water celery.
Yeah.
It's a type of water celery.
It's a plant that grows
vegetable.
in water.
And it's a semi-autobiographical film based on the director Lee Isaac Chung's childhood and his father's move to rural USA in the mid-80s. It stars Steven, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, Steven Yeun, best known in our household for The Walking Dead. But he was also in that movie Burning, wasn't he?
Burning, I thought he was brilliant.
He was very good in that, yeah.
Yeah, he has got sort of, I think, sort of movie star credentials in a way. I mean, he's very sort of
Very
almost
handsome.
like, very handsome, a young James Dean almost,
I mean, he plays the father, Steven Yeun, and his wife, and he has a daughter and a son, and they arrive on a plot of land.
Yeah.
And the plot of land is essentially a glorified caravan on wheels.
Yeah.
And he believes he can turn the sort of grubby land around it into a profit-making lifestyle that will sustain him and the family.
Yeah.
And really, that is it. It's about how relatively successful or not he is at achieving that.
Exactly.
And how it plays out for his family.
Yeah.
Their son has a weak heart.
Yeah, we never know exactly what it is that his son has got, but his son is sort of, it's told sort of equally through the father and the son's eyes, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
The mother is just, well, she's just horrified, really, right from the beginning. She's like, is this it?
Yes.
I don't like it. Why are we doing this?
She's not
Blah, blah,
sold
blah.
on the whole
She's
experience
so
from the
not sold
get-go,
on
is she?
it. No,
I mean,
she's
right
not.
down to the wheels. She has to sort of he has to drag her up to lift her through the front door.
Yeah.
There's the suggestion that something untoward has happened to whoever lived there before.
Yeah.
And we discover that they did kill themselves, didn't we?
Yes, that's right.
So, there's a sort of bad vibe. And I think quite quickly, I mean, there was a very early scene at the beginning where he's got a water diviner. Do you remember?
Yeah.
He declined the services at the beginning of a water diviner. So you've got this American chap walking around the land trying to decide where he should sort of put a hole to get the water.
Which was a thing, apparently.
Water
People
divining.
used to do it.
Well, water divine, it's so bizarre, isn't it? But you just can't help but think you're just pointing it down
No,
now.
but people did used to do it.
Does it have to be a bit of yew or something? Yew tree or something?
It has to be a certain type of thing, yeah. I mean, obviously it's nonsense.
But it's intriguing because the film's bookended with, at the beginning, he denies the help of the water diviner.
Yeah.
And then they move through a relatively dramatic sort of development, if you like, where he keeps trying to develop the land. He enlists the help of a local helper who's this curious chap.
This character
Will
is absolutely wonderful. Will Patton's been around for years and he always plays great characters.
Well, and he plays he talks in tongues, sort of...
He's a religious zealot,
A religious zealot.
He's absolutely balmy. He carries a cross down the road on Sundays, dragging it behind him. Do
you think he was fascinating?
Absolutely fascinating. And I'm sure there are lots of people like that.
We've got one who walks down our road with a crucifix on his back.
And what was so nice about his character was that he wanted to help and he was totally friendly.
I'm so pleased you said that because we're so used to seeing sort of religious fundamentalists, for want of a better expression, American fundamentalists, white American fundamentalists, as really just horrible, rednecky, prejudiced people.
Yeah.
He was bonkers, but he really wanted to help this family, this Korean family.
He was totally on their side. He was totally sort of...
Brilliantly played.
He
was brilliantly played. And in a weird way, he was really fascinating. And around him, you got this sense that whoever lived there before, worked there before, something had happened to. As a Korean family, they're sort of brought into the family of the church as well, aren't they? They're there's these scenes of them sitting in a Christian church or whatever the religion is in this area, and they're sort of sitting there. So they're trying to become members of society.
They go there initially sexing chickens, which apparently was a big thing. And he,
working
the man,
in factories.
Yeah, he, the man, is much quicker at it than the woman, and you're paid by how many chickens you do. And I think it's a sort of like, somebody said it's a learning curve for the boy at some point, that they realise that the male chickens just get killed.
Yes.
I mean, that's all it is. That's the end of their lives. But obviously the man the father wants more. He wants more than that.
Well,
He
and I
wants
thought it
to
was
be-
really good about migrant aspiration.
Yeah.
You know, this idea of this might be what you're pigeonholed in to do, and this
Yeah.
might be what you're here to do.
Yeah.
But his aspiration wasn't massive.
No.
His aspiration was to grow a bit of vegetable and sell it.
Yes, absolutely, and yes, and that's told very well, I think.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's native vegetables, isn't it? At
Yeah.
the beginning, it doesn't become Korean. And so
No. Well, that's very well. And then, of course, a really key character then enters the fray, because it's a struggle for them to basically sex chickens. Sexing chickens means you identify their sex and put them in separate boxes.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to do that in a hatchery and look after the kids,
Yeah.
whilst he's also trying to grow vegetables with lunatic zealot, religious zealot, who literally, I always find it fascinating when someone does tongues.
I know, I loved that because the way that the film was, he just showed it, and it was like take this or leave it, wasn't it? And I loved that.
Yeah, I like
And the
that.
way that Will Patton played it was still take it or leave it. This
Yeah.
is what I do, but
Yeah.
I'm also a good neighbour.
Yeah. Of course, this is also set in the 80s, so it's a
But then who comes into it?
well, his mum. Mother.
Her mum.
Oh no, is it her mum?
Her mum.
Sorry,
her
the
mum.
wife's mum
He
enters
allows
it.
her mother to come because they need the kid.
The mother-in-law.
Yeah.
The
Very
mother-in-law.
underplayed part is the girl, actually. I thought that all the way
The
through
daughter.
it. The daughter really
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to say or contribute, does she? Yes, so the grandmother now. A lot of Asian, Japanese, Korean films have grandmothers in them, and usually they drive me balmy.
Well, the one in Parasite was very, very naughty, wasn't she?
Well, yes,
Yes.
no, she was.
Well, this is another sort of badly behaved granny.
Yeah.
Insofar as she's not interested in any of the normal things that grannies are supposed to do.
No.
Right down to, and I tell you what I really liked. The young boy in this is brilliant.
He is.
In that he's so circumspect around her. He's like this. And I remember thinking, I was like that with very. It's like, I don't buy you.
No.
You're not proper.
No, he said you smell Korean. You don't do this right. You don't do that right.
Yeah.
And of course, the boy has to share a bedroom with her, and he's really not happy.
No, it's really not. But she's like a card playing, poker playing,
She is.
wrestling watching. I don't know what she was watching. Was it wrestling or baseball or
Yeah.
something? She's like, she's well into all
She's
of
not
that.
what you expect.
She's not what you expect, and she's
And very, very
Crude.
infinitesimally they get close, but it takes a lot. It takes the whole of the
well.
rest of
It
the
takes the
film.
most curious moment of her having a stroke.
Oh yes, of course.
Because at one point he's lying there and he's talking to her, and I thought that was such a well played scene
Yeah.
where there's only the kids in essentially the home.
Yeah,
Nan's had a stroke,
yeah.
and they're both like, "What's wrong with her?"
Yeah.
She's like, it's very unromantic, sort of
Yeah.
undramatic.
Yeah,
And you discover basically she's had a stroke,
yeah.
and then she becomes this sort of strange shuffling character in the background, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Who kind of ends up just making things more problematic.
She absolutely does. I mean, just before she's had the stroke,
Yeah.
and when she and the boy
are down by the
bonding
creek.
slightly, they go down to the creek, and that's
Yeah.
where the whole thing of
Yes,
Minari,
of
Minari
course, it's
is
crucial.
introduced.
Minari.
And she says, "This is what it is. It grows very easily.
She says it grows anywhere.
grows anywhere." And they start off with nothing, and then obviously
Yeah.
as the film goes on, it goes. But that becomes hugely important.
Yeah.
But we don't know that then.
And
But,
so she plants it on the river bank.
Yeah,
by the-
just
by the river.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and the thing being that the father is doing everything right
Yes.
and sort of, circumspectly
Yeah.
and just as it should be done.
Yeah.
And she just drops it more or less and is fertile.
Yeah. It's growing everywhere. And Will
Everywhere.
Patton is really supporting,
Patton is so good.
Steven Yeun as he kind of tries to get all the, and then one of the markets doesn't want his food at one
Yeah.
point, and then that just blights all of his crops.
Yeah.
And he's got all of this excess produce, and they're trying to work it out and rationalize it. So it was a really, I mean, I would say the grab on this film is to treat it like it's like a parable, isn't it?
It is a parable.
It is a parable.
Yeah, it is a
And it's a parable about a migrant sense of finding belonging and setting your roots in an alien culture.
Yeah.
And how the way in which this family tried to grow the very thing they think that country would want, which is its own vegetables.
Yes.
And the beautiful kind of come round, I think, in a sense, by the end of the film,
Yes.
is the idea that what they should grow and sell is the very thing that comes most naturally to them,
Yes,
in a sense,
exactly.
which
They
is their
come
own
round full
vegetable.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mother-in-law gets ill,
Mm-hmm.
she shuffles around, and then disastrously at the end, it strikes me that Steven Yeun, everything he's going to be in is going to involve buildings on fire.
Yeah.
Because in Burning it happens, and in The Walking Dead there's a lot of fire.
I could have slaughtered her in there.
Oh my God.
I mean, why
What
didn't
an annoying old woman.
Exactly.
And then I thought there was a very intense and I thought beautifully played scene between the husband and wife where he wanted to stick with his dream and his ambition. She was like, but what about the family? We can't stay here. We're going to move. He was going to stick with his sterile attempts to make this. You know, he'd got his first sale. It looked like he could make it work.
Yes, exactly.
But she didn't want it for her and the kids. And what was he willing to put first? His ambition versus family. So I thought it was kind of subtly about that too, again through the sort of migrant perspective, which I think must be a real dilemma for you if you're trying to, you know, set your roots in a new. Essentially, that's what it's all about, is developing roots in a new country.
It is, and also one always thinks of sort of communities, foreign communities coming together and it being towns.
Yes.
You don't think of this great big sort of open world.
But then the film comes out, and what I love about it, it's very poetic, is that in the last, well, the sort of second to last scene, he brings a water diviner around again, and he listens to him this time. So I like this film for how it dealt with mysticism. There was a sort of mysticism and a faith and there was a religious quality to this film. Not conventional, spiritual. What is it? It wasn't organized religion. It wasn't the religion of the zealot. It wasn't the religion of the church. It wasn't necessarily the belief of the Korean family.
No.
But there was something otherworldly at work. And for me, the water diviner manifested that. Was it what you were expecting?
I don't know why. I was sort of expecting... at that stage, I was thinking it was written by Willa Catherine. She does write a good book. But I was thinking more of Garden of Eden. I was thinking more of it, I suppose, being more religious than it actually was. Because it isn't, except for balmy Will Patton next door. And that spirituality, obviously.
So was it not what you expected?
No, I think I'd got confused with the whole Parasite thing. I thought it would be more like Parasite, I think. And it's not. It's much lower key.
Very
lower key.
I wouldn't say it's slow, but it's not a rapid watch.
No, not at all. I don't mean to say it's boring, but it is a slowly growing sort of thing, very slow.
But do you think it deserves all the accolades and everything everyone's going on about? I'm trying to I sensed from you earlier this weekend that you weren't as sold on it as perhaps you're saying you are now.
I'm not that sold on it.
Oh, right, okay.
No.
Oh, tell us why not.
Well, because I mean, I think it's charming.
Right.
And I think there are some standout performances.
Yes. The soundtrack's got to have a particular show. It's a beautiful soundtrack.
Yeah, beautiful soundtrack. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah. You think, well, what's there not to like?
Well, yes, in a way, but it's not. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm saying that, but
just go for it, Mum. Go for the jugular.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's just.
I'm leading you up the garden path. Just say it. Say what you feel.
It's
say
just
what
an
you see.
Ordinary film.
Ooh, that's hard. Ordinary film. Okay. All right. Is this your sum up?
Yes.
Okay, so you feel okay. So what would you score it?
65.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting because everything we've said is ebullient and positive. I enjoyed watching it. I thought there were some great moments in it, but I think it's a very nice film.
I do.
And I think it's a very gentle film, and I think its observations are really key. I think it's kind of talking about gently talk. Everything it's dealing with is dealing with very gently.
Yeah.
I think your word ordinary is really apt. I think it's an okay film.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice enough film.
Nice enough.
I don't think it's necessarily the film that should be charging through award season.
No.
In the way that Parasite deservedly did, I think.
Yeah.
You know, knocking all competition out of sight. I think it's...
That's the way it's being pushed, as if to say, this is the film that's
going
to change
and the
everything.
reason I still then hesitate is I don't necessarily think this film would want that for itself.
No,
I don't think it's that kind of film. I don't even think the PR behind it is for it to be that kind of film. It's not pretending it's anything it isn't.
No.
And I think in a weird way, I worry that this film has been hijacked by the award season festival circuit bandwagon.
Agree. Yes.
And they're trying to fit it into... I think what's happening here is someone's trying to make this year's Parasite.
They are.
And you will be sorely disappointed if you come into this film like that.
Yeah.
This is a very different film.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I wasn't really disappointed at all because it's gentle, it's this, that and the other. But I was slightly. Yeah. I was slightly disappointed in the sense I was expecting more.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, you gave it 65. I think I'd probably give it 70.
Okay.
But I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I think there was a deflation kicked in, and I was like,
deflation is a good word.
But this isn't the fault of the film.
No.
This isn't the fault of the film. That's important if you go and watch it.
And also, it's very interesting, isn't it, then, how films can be wrong-footed, as books can in literary festivals or whatever, by all the reviewers and pundits saying this is the
And
film.
in a year where we've had not very much released and there's not a lot going on, you know, this has really kind of sort of grown like some Minari on a riverbank.
Exactly, and the fact it's South Korean, and the fact that he's charming, the main
and the director's lovely. I've seen the director interviewed by
Okay.
J.J. Abrams, and you know, and I think there's great performances in here. But it's a very small film, and it should stay a very small film.
Yeah, small.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.